My 30F, fiance M30, looked after another woman in front of my maid of honor F31. MOH is disgusted by his look and tells me I should not marry him. But she remembers the situation totally differently. I, F30, have been with my so, M30 for 4 years, and we enjoy a very happy, drama-free relationship. Vicky and Tom are a couple with whom we have a close friendship, both 31. Vicky is a childhood friend of mine, and Tom is a childhood friend of my so's, and they really introduced us. As a result, Vicky will be my maid of honor and Tom will be my so's best man at our impending December wedding. Since my so and I started dating, we've gone out for drinks, meals, tennis, or, in the past year, video chats with Vicky and Tom on a weekly basis, and I enjoy these nights because Vicky and Tom are so much fun to hang out with. Everyone gets along, and we always have a good time. This year, the 4 of us took a trip together for the first time. We leased a beach cottage and spent a week there. Until the final evening, it was a lot of fun. We went to a restaurant near the water, and there was a little pier coming up to it. We ate a delicious meal and drank some wine. We are now on our way back to our holiday house, which is when the incident occurred. We are all on the pier, and a lady is approaching us from the opposite direction. I just noticed her shadow at first since the light was behind her, but as she walked into the light, she looked stunning. I'm not sure how to express it without objectifying or seeming weird, but she looked stunning. Consider Marilyn Monroe reincarnated, but with a crazier waist-to-hip ratio. She seemed to have been altered. Easily the most gorgeous person I'd ever seen. With a cigarette in her fingers, she gazed out at the water, and the whole scenario had the feel of something out of a movie. Anyway, as she is nearly past us, she stares at my so, who was closest to her, in a really manner. I'm not sure how to put it, but she simultaneously breathed out the smoke through her nose, bit her lip while staring at him, then tossed the cigarette into the water without even looking at it. I'm not a fan of people polluting the water, but she looked so awesome doing it. I apologize if I'm going into too much detail. Just know she looked like she stepped out of a movie. So she passes us and my so and I exchange glances, his expression saying, "OMG, did you see that?" And I simply mouth, "Wow," and as soon as she passes us, my so spins around and stares after her, for a very long time, until she enters the restaurant, that is. I made fun of him for plainly looking after her, and that was the end of it. Vicky immediately commented on how uncomfortable it feels to be gazed at like that, which is completely accurate. And I apologize for looking, but I couldn't take my gaze away from her. That doesn't make it right, I know. Vicky remained standoffish for the remainder of the evening, but I had no idea why since she didn't say anything. The next day she was much more agitated, which I attributed to the fact that her vacation was finished and she had to return to her difficult work the next day. After a week, I phoned Vicky to see if they want to hang out on the weekend. She tells me she's not sure she wants to meet my so, since he acted so disgustingly. At first, I had no idea what she was on about. She continues, "I was there when he was catcalling after the lady on the dock. I am certain he did not catcall." That's what I told her. She just scoffs and replies, "Sure, honey." Then we kind of uncomfortably hang up the phone. Some days pass, and Vicky messages me to say she want to meet up with just the 2 of us. We had a drink together yesterday. She essentially informed me she couldn't be my maid of honor because she couldn't bear the thought of seeing me marry such a disgusting guy. I informed her again that he didn't catcall, but she believes it's irrelevant. She said I evidently didn't look at his face when he was staring at the lady, and his expression was nasty. She also questioned whether I was concerned about marrying him now that I knew what his type was. I informed her that I, too, had been staring at the lady, and she's definitely not my type, since I'm not into women. She was breathtakingly lovely. Vicky thinks that's unusual. I should have noticed the expression. I didn't know what to say since I clearly hadn't seen it. I asked Vicky whether she had a negative experience in a circumstance like that. I was expecting the entire scene to take her back to an unpleasant situation she had herself, but she simply brushed it off. She said that this was not about her. It had something to do with his glancing at young ladies. Now, the lady wasn't very young. It's difficult to tell her age since she was wearing so much makeup, but I'd estimate she was in her late 20s at the very least. I'm simply bewildered. Did we have the same experience? Everything's as though Vicky viewed it entirely differently. When I went home, I informed my so, who was startled and said he didn't catcall and would never do anything like that, and that he's sorry for gazing at the lady, which isn't even a problem for me. However, I'm wondering whether it should be. He contacted Tom and asked his opinion, and Tom was astounded as well. Vicky made some remarks, but he had no idea it was such a huge issue, and he had no idea she didn't want to be my maid of honor anymore. Which leads me to believe that maybe this isn't that serious after all, otherwise she wouldn't have informed Tom about it. Anyway, I'm stumped. Is it truly possible for one look to transform one's impression of another person? Is Vicky being dramatic, or am I just not concerned enough? Is there an underlying problem that I'm missing? Story 2. A year ago marks the last straw I had with my ex-boyfriend, and boy was it messy. In 2019, I was with the very worst person for me. He was a narcissist and a serial cheater, and the last straw for me was a year ago tomorrow. My partner was cheating on me, and I was aware of it. It was as bright as day. However, he continued to manipulate the situation in order to make me seem insane and making it all up, so I remained. I realize it's stupid, but I've learned my lesson. Let's talk about the most recent incidents of his cheating that I will never forget. I left for my evening class for my graduate program. The class lasted 2 hours. He contacted me before class to let me know he was heading to a friend's home to watch Monday Night Football. He instructed me not to contact him since his buddy lived in the middle of nowhere and had poor service. I knew he was going to be out cheating based only on this text. 1. He despised sports. He never paid attention to them. 2. He had never specifically warned me not to text him. I let things be for a time. I gave him a meme I saw, giving him the benefit of the doubt, and when the photo was sent instantly, I realized he was lying. I texted him a few more times, pretending to be ecstatic that my messages had arrived since he had said he wouldn't have mobile coverage. He quickly banned my phone number. To be honest, this is when I went off the deep end. It had been 8 months of him lying to me, cheating on me, and gaslighting me into believing I was insane and he had done nothing wrong. This was the tipping moment for me. I recognized the other girl. He didn't keep it a secret. Everything was uploaded on her social media channels by this girl. She couldn't accomplish anything without making a post about it someplace. So I got a buddy to check her Instagram story to see whether she was hanging out with him. Sure enough, he was with her in a restaurant. A snapshot was taken by a buddy and forwarded to me. This stung much more since I knew she didn't have a vehicle. He didn't either, and he lived a long distance away, so it was obvious that he borrowed his mother's vehicle to take her out. He informed me that since his mother was so strict, he'd never be able to do that for me. I messaged him on Instagram. He didn't block me there for some reason, and inquired if he was downtown. "You are mad," he said. "Is it possible for me to be at my friend's home and downtown at the same time? As you talk, my buddies and I are giggling. You're insane, and everyone knows it." He had no idea I had a photo of him downtown. I was keeping it for later, so I'd have evidence that he was manipulating and lying to me. He went on and on about how mentally ill I was. I knew he was inebriated, so I simply let it go. The following morning, he cleared my phone number and texted me, "Good morning," as if I'd forgotten what I'd seen the night before. I immediately ordered him to stop the nonsense and to explain what occurred the night before. He texted me a piece about how he shouldn't have to explain to me that he wasn't downtown and how I was silly to assume otherwise. He didn't have a vehicle and no money, since he spent all of his money on me like nice lovers do, so he couldn't even go on a date. "So, did someone falsify this image of you downtown?" I said. "Is there someone out to get you?" And then I emailed the image. "You got me. I've been lying this entire time," he stated right away. He then proceeded to inform me that he had been cheating on me throughout the relationship. He was dating this girl before he and I began dating, and he decided he didn't want to let either of us go, so he began 2 relationships. He tried all he could to keep neither of us from finding out, but my instincts told me very immediately that something was wrong. I dumped him, blocked him, and then discovered that the other female had done the same a few weeks before me. Following that, he spiraled out of control. Even sent me a letter pleading for my return. Play silly games, and you'll earn ridiculous rewards.